Well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to Red Hot Talk once again. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day and fantastic time wherever you are. The weather in London today is a little bit cloudy. I wouldn't say it's exactly a sunny day for photography, but you know, we can make use of any light, any situation if you're a very photographer. So how's the weather over there, Rod, for you?
It's a perfect spring day in Western-super-Mare. In the West Country.
Is it windy?
And, it's not the first time. We had another one in 1973. So it's not the first time this has happened.
Wonderful. Well, I'm actually quite fascinated about today's topic because it's only very recent. You know that in Japan they currently have the biggest photography show called the CP Plus. Obviously, we see a lot of new products, from all kinds of brands, all kinds of companies and lens makers announcing their products. But what caught my eyes wasn't the new products. Obviously, we are gear nerds, so we all like new products. But it's the more of the interview that I saw in the website CineD.com. They did the interview with the Panasonic Executive Vice President of the Consumer Electronics, and also his due title, and also the director for the imaging business unit within Panasonic, which means that he's more or less the boss of Lumix. So the interview was about half an hour long. I'm not sure whether there was any trimming in between, but I have the link in the description so you can actually click on it and watch yourself about the entire interview. And just to make it clear, the interview that I saw and today's talk is based on my own opinion, so it doesn't reflect anything official. And of course, the reply from the Japanese directors was in Japan. It was in Japanese, so my Japanese is not exactly great, so I would say that a lot of it is based on what I saw on the subtitles or the translation itself. But let's talk about it because I think that it's quite interesting from the response that he gave to the interviewer from CineD. That we can talk a little about what Lumix are currently doing. Maybe we'll share some experience from you guys and what you think about it as well. And if you guys know Japanese, please do read the whole thing, watch the video, and let me know in the comment section below afterward, because I would like to hear your thoughts about it if you do understand Japanese. So, okay, let's start with today's discussion about Lumix. Right. Okay, first of all, I know that you guys know that I'm an OEM system ambassador. I'm not trying to brand trashing Lumix, and I do use a couple of Lumix products. I love the GX7. I love the G9 Mark II, even though I sold it. And now I have the S9 full-frame camera. So I do use Lumix stuff, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to trash them at all. But what I have been seeing is probably the lack of activities within Lumix, and many of you may agree that we haven't seen anything new from the Lumix, especially in the MFT ground. So, Rod, you read about the interview, and what is your over kind of like an overview of the whole thing?
It's difficult, isn't it? When you carry out an interview with corporate executives, very often you'll ask a direct question and you'll get an answer that's quite difficult to pass, to dismantle. So I think what we see in the interview is a very cautious response from the Japanese executive, and a very cautious translation. That's not putting words in her mouth. So I'm with you, Jimmy. I think you have to interpret these things very, very carefully, and it's all about the wording. And it does seem to me that the Panasonic is saying, "Oh no, we're still doing Micro Four Thirds," but they don't talk about it in the same way that they do Lumix S.
No,
they talk about it as, we will always make the products people ask for. But it doesn't feel as if they have the same plans as they do with the Lumix S range.
Yes.
So I think nothing outright was said, but I think you can draw your own conclusions from that.
Absolutely. But what I can take from the the interview itself is actually quite interesting. There are a couple of things that I picked up on, and obviously not sure how many of you actually know that Panasonic has merged the consumer audio video departments with the professional audio video department. So they have merged that together. So basically it has a direct impact on product design and the lineup itself. From what I gauge and in the conversation that they had in the interview is that they are going through, I mean, when I say they, Lumix is going through a transition period at this moment in time. So they are still trying to figuring out the products, you know, where the direction is going to go in terms of the future products. So when you're merging a professional unit with a consumer unit, this is kind of how, I mean, personally, I think it's a little bit of kind of confusing things going there, because professional is a very different arena compared to the consumer area. Wouldn't you agree, Rod?
I think so. I think, though, that very often the strategic moves within a company possibly sound more significant than they are, because I think ultimately, if the new combined division sees enough of a market in consumers and beginners, it'll pursue it. But I do think it's an indication that Panasonic is a bit more interested in video than stills.
Well, they always been, right? They always been like more into videos than still, right from the start.
Kind of, but with Lumix G, there's always been this kind of dual thread with the stills orientated cameras and the video. There's often a lot of crossover. There always has been, but they always held this distinction between cameras like the Lumix G9, for example, and the GH5.
Yep.
You know, similar size, slightly different cost, but one was a stills camera that could do decent video. The other one was a video camera that could do decent stills. There's always been this crossover, but I think there's probably more of a leaning now towards video, and stills photography, however this looks in the future, is going to be secondary.
Yeah,
you know, so a bit like the Nikon ZR.
Like the Nikon ZR, but I think
Nikon
yeah, but the Nikon's slightly different though. However, you know, because they acquired they acquired Red, you know, which is a cinematographer focused business. So like the ZR is basically a skimmed down versions, aiming for maybe, you know, slightly serious amateur cinematographer, you know, not professional, but something slightly would take video slightly more seriously. They wanted something that may not be a full-size rig, you know, which is big and bulky and heavy, and something that is as capable as one of those big cameras, while using smaller lenses, and or maybe even using as a running gun system as a secondary, or maybe in third kind of lineups camera systems that can be used in a certain situation, because it's a slightly smaller body, can be beneficial in some kind of setup, for instance, in a car mounting on a rig, and you know, something like that. So I think that's probably what that was. But certainly ZR was selling like hotcakes at the moment. We all know that, and it's become named the camera of the year last year. So the ZR is now picking up a little bit of momentum for Nikon in the video world, which traditionally they haven't really got a hold of. So it's quite interesting to see how that would develop in future Nikon products, whether they're going to produce another bigger version of the ZR when they have even more features, more like a Blackmagic camera, like very, very video focused than what they have with the ZR. But the Lumix, on the other hand, they already have a commercial foothold in the broadcasting industry within Japan. And internationally, I'm not entirely sure how big a impact they have, because I know Canon and Nikon's, Canon actually especially, they have a lot of sports broadcasting systems out there. Together with all the other systems there, Fuji's also had a little bit of a broadcasting equipment as well. You know, you haven't seen them. You should go to some of the trade show to see how big a rig they have over there. So they have some of these broadcasting studio cameras. So Lumix always have that. And we all know that Lumix, Panasonic always made a lot of camcorders way back in the days, and that was kind of like their consumer products. They did a lot of consumer electronics point and shoot cameras, and that's where kind of their photo side of it, right? It's not so much about SLRs, and things like that. And even the Japanese director said that the Lumix was it 25th anniversary this year, I think, the brand itself, and or 18 years, I'm not entirely sure, and so it's not a long history when it comes to stills photography based brand. They've known for their video capabilities, and we all know that. People who use Lumix gear would tell you a thing or two about the video side, which is very established. We all know that. So it's interesting that this kind of reflects on almost like where they want to go in the future. And would you think that stills would also be becoming more and more of a back end now?
That is my impression. But I think, unfortunately for Panasonic, the messaging for consumers is really not very clear at all. I mean, internally, Panasonic might have a very clear idea of where they're going.
Yeah.
But I think to outsiders, it's quite difficult. For example, the G9 Mark II and the GH7.
Yep.
Which do you buy? Because Panasonic will tell you the G9 Mark II, yes, it's very good at stills, but it's really good at video. But they'll say about the GH7, yes, it does great video, but it's really good at stills too. It's difficult for consumers to get a handle on what Panasonic is trying to do. And, I think the interview also talks about the Lumix S system and the S1 Mark II.
Yes.
And Panasonic is saying interest in that camera has been spectacular, thanks to its partially stacked sensor. It can do this, it can do that. But you've already got the S5 II and S5 IIX. They're pretty good, right? It's confusing. Why is the S1 Mark II better than those, which are already pretty good? So I think it's a company, we see this a lot, where internally they might have a very clear idea of where each model fits.
Yeah.
But externally, none of us know what the hell to buy. Or is it just me?
No, I mean, I think we briefly talked about it earlier, right, Rod? And we can say the same thing about many companies, especially Sony. Sony's cameras are equally confusing, equally complicated in terms of the product lineup. There are a lot of overlaps there, and to be honest, if you get any Sony, it's basically the same as any other models you've got. Just different pricing, different body shapes, but essentially it's the same camera. But the good thing about Sony is that they somehow knows how to navigate utilizing social media platforms to categorize their products, to push the target audience into each of their products very, very specific, while Lumix can't do the same thing.
I know. I think Sony's very good at getting influencers to do their explaining for them, and it works very well.
Yes.
I think other brands should think very carefully about how they market their own stuff. I mean, they just need to put a lot more content on YouTube, I think, essentially, and make it a bit more user centric, not just news and interviews and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's where most people get their advice now.
They do, and I mean, I have to give some credit to OM System. That they, if anyone who think about outdoor macros, birding, and OM System is right there now in terms of discussions. You may not get the system, but at least for the past 3-4 years, they've been focusing on all the social media, the videos, and even ambassadors are all outdoor related, all wildlife related. So like now they're creating an image of that. Good or bad, we can discuss it in a separate time, but at least that's how branding's being created, how values being associated. So OM System has done that. So now it's quite clear where the systems falls, and the OM Mark II is the speed demon. If you want the best speed for birdings at any unexpected moment, everyone's going to push to that cameras, for instance. So Lumix doesn't have that, because like you said, the G9 Mark II and the GX7 are very, very close to each other, and I had both, and I sold one of them because there was too much overlap, and I don't see the point of having two of the same camera, essentially.
No, exactly. Just imagine if OM System commissioned a series of content around street photography.
Yeah,
it's just a bit hip and a bit trendy, very fast action, a bit more modern. It wouldn't take much to re-establish that brand as being an exciting street camera, or a travel camera. But it's something that OM System doesn't do, and I think a lot of the big camera makers are very conservative and unimaginative about their marketing. But to get back to the topic of Panasonic and Lumix G, quite apart from what was said in the interview, I think we can see the signs in the camera launches and development. I think the G9 Mark II is perhaps the last new Lumix G camera we'll see. After that, we might get reheats of older cameras. I wouldn't be surprised at that. So we got the Lumix G97, which is basically the G90/G95 updated.
Yeah,
it's a terrific camera at the price. I don't think we'd complain if we got a new GX10, for example, which was really the GX9 with a USB port or a different screen. Nobody would complain at that, I think, because I think we all miss those cameras.
Yes, I think so.
Might it happen? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, just to go back to a couple of comments that I saw, quite a few of you mentioning about lenses, especially the very renowned and famed 20mm 1.7 pancake prime lens that Panasonic LUMIX had for quite a while. They make the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. Everyone rave about the lens, and it certainly is a very cute lens, and I think that is decently sharp. I wouldn't say ultra sharp, but I think that is a great travel option, and even if you mount it on a slightly slimmer body, it can be quite good, kind of almost like a compact street photography camera, pair it with like you said, the GX9, and then that would be really, really awesome. And I saw B&H report saying that the 21.7 Mark II has been listed as discontinued, so they have basically possibly got it from Panasonic. We're not making that lens, or maybe not, because in the interview it mentioned Lumix actually saying that they are renewing lenses. And two of the renewed models, which to be quite honest, I didn't know they renewed them, was the 100 to 400 millimeters Panasonic Leica zoom lens and the 35 to 100 millimeters 2.8 Panasonic Leica zoom lenses. So I didn't know they did that at all. I mean, there was no launch, no announcement about that. No one really knows.
This is part of the problem, isn't it? That there's no awareness when something does happen. Nobody knows. They only find out later. It's almost, it's not that the news is being buried, but I think Panasonic probably has rather lost heart in the Lumix G series and just doesn't bother anymore. I might be wrong. I hope I am wrong, but that's the feeling I get. I'm going to annoy everyone by saying I never liked the 20mm 1.7 very much, but that was because of the slow focusing, which just doesn't cut it in this day and age. So if they did do one that focused quickly, that might be different. But I suspect that might need a complete redesign of the internals, because when you replace one AF actuator with another, it's not just a case of unscrewing one thing and plugging another one in. We're talking about a physical redesign. So who knows? Who knows?
But one thing is interesting to me, though. I just talked about the 35 to 100 2.8 because previously that lens was not a Panasonic Leica branded lens. It was just a Panasonic G lens.
It's just Panasonic. Yeah, this is what's confusing for me, because I've heard nothing about this Panasonic Leica.
So I'm gonna really have to Google it where I can get hold of one to see exactly what it looks like, because the interview, not once but a few times, he mentioned about 35-100 2.8 Leica Panasonic Leica lens. So he did mention it's a renewed lens. So I presume it's based on the original lens, maybe a slightly updated coating or optical formula. it would be interesting to see exactly what he means, or maybe he just kind of miscommunicated. Maybe the translation was a little bit wrong. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But according to Google's AI,
yeah,
is the thing. But that doesn't mean anything, does it?
No.
But it officially is a Leica DG Vario Elmerit. So it is a Leica branded lens. So
Right.
who knows? Let's have a look on B&H. See what B&H says about that. I'll let you know. Keep talking. B&H. Right, here we go. Well, yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Panasonic Leica DG, blah blah blah. I've got a feeling this came out in 2024, but nobody knew. But also, I can't.
No,
see
I
on the
remember
lens.
someone just mentioned it. You know, they redid the 12 to 35, 35 100, 100 to 400 at the launch of G9 Mark II. I thought they were just like a Mark II version,
Right. Maybe this is what's confusing, but it does have Leica on the front of the lens, engraved on the front. But that, as far as I can see, is the only difference, because I had the original Mark I version and it just looks identical.
Right.
So maybe they got Leica to come over and have a look at it in factory and say, right, we'll put a stamp on that. So Leica DG Vario Elmerit now. Same lens? Yeah, but at least we've looked at it, we like it. I'm not saying that's what happens, but you know.
Just don't put the red dot on it.
No, you can't have the dot. That's another fee again.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's certainly quite interesting. And they said, I mean, and if what you just said about these lenses were renewed way back when the G9 Mark II came out, which is a couple of years ago now, that isn't quite a new news. So yeah,
I remember the 35 to 100 being refreshed officially,
but
I didn't know that they added the Leica branding. But I suspect that was added at the time. I don't know whether there are any optical differences or not. That's a good lens. It's not very big. Not very big either.
No, I'm going to highlight a couple of comments when I come back to that, because some of you suggested about some other Micro Four Thirds cameras, and we're going to talk about my own personal opinion and about what Lumix should be doing, because based on current demands and market conditions and whatnot. But we're going to come back to that later on. But overall, I think that certainly it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence for those who may be hoping, that Panasonic would kind of, like maybe start thinking about, or at least have some plan about the next generations of MFT cameras, for instance. I was really hoping to at least have some hints, if not some sort of confidence, that would be kind of like, okay, yeah, they're working on something. But in fact, I don't really get that from the interview, but that's only my personal feeling. Like I said, the link is in the description. You're very welcome to click on it and watch it yourself. It's all been documented and recorded, so you can actually read it and also look at see the entire video yourself and make your own judgment on it. But it's just personal feeling that I just don't think they are doing much at the moment. No. And that leaves us currently, in terms of the big MFT player, is basically a monopoly by OM System. So they would be possibly the only one maybe still pushing the boundary, looking at different products and revolutionize certain categories within the system. However, having said that, I made a video a couple of weeks ago about the Chinese makers. Remember, we talked about that. The Chinese also now joining the Micro Four Thirds Alliance, and these are not lens makers. This is actually a camera maker. So it could be interesting to see another player making Micro Four Thirds cameras, but we're not going to talk about that today. But it's more focusing on Lumix. But it's certainly not gloom and doom about the MFT platform. Perhaps this particular Chinese maker could be revigorating the entire Micro Four Thirds platform, because Chinese is a big market, and if they can make things relatively affordable, which we know Chinese are very good at, and that could propel the platform to another level, simply because we are now lacking cheap cameras in general, not let alone Micro Four Thirds. But if they can produce something that is working, I don't even care about the spec. If they can make one really, really cheap, you never know. You know, people might buy into the system just to have a go at photography.
What's really cheap, Jimmy?
£200, £300.
No, I think I think you're living in fantasy there.
Well, you say that though. You know, they are making cameras that are like $30, $50.
Yeah, we know what they're like. We know what they're like. We don't want to get into Amazon specials territory.
Well, we do, but at the same time, you know, like they may not be using the latest and the greatest sensor. They may looking at, you know, some like 12 megapixel micro four thirds sensor as cheap as possible, but doesn't mean they're bad. You know, like that means that if they can pump out something that is really gaming for beginners who doesn't know anything about photography, you know, it's almost like a no-brainer. It's almost can get people into impulse buying almost, then get something they can try. You have a taste of photography. At the moment, if you want to look at anything that's at a beginner level, you still have to fork out quite a bit of money before you can kind of get into it.
I would say that's true. You either buy used or you buy some rather older model. You know, like an EM10 Mark IV or a Lumix G97. They're my two top tips for beginners right now. Otherwise, you just buy a used DSLR, which is probably, you know, it's old tech, but it's affordable. It works. And it's robust. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about like brand new stuff, and from what I know, the Chinese market personally is that they, unless it's a cult classic collectibles, they'll tend to like new things. So you know, if new is the game in China. So I think that, you know, this kind of cheap camera, you know, kind of strategy may actually work. And especially you think about it, living standard in general in China is much lower than the Western countries. So people may not have the disposable income level that we have enjoyed in the West. So £200-300 cameras still relatively expensive in China. And that's why those $50, $30 cameras are selling big time in China. And actually, even saying that though, if you look at Amazon, they still sell quite a bit as well. They are crap cameras.
It's because people don't know what they're buying.
Look, I have one right here. Yeah, $50, $50, 4K capturing, and supposedly 50 megapixel. But if you look at it, it's artificially inflated. It's probably 8 megapixel. Yeah, it's absolutely horrible.
Yes, but you know, if what worries me is that somebody buys one of these cameras off Amazon and they say, you know, photography isn't for me. This is dreadful. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to take up basket weaving or Pilates. Photography's awful.
yeah. But, you know, I mean, that there's always a market for cheap stuff. Let's put it that way. And for those who really just want to try something, I think it wouldn't hurt to have something, you know, affordable, as long as working. You know, that's the main thing, as long as working. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, the company who joined this alliance in China is not aiming at making an ultra budget a camera. I think they want to upscale their current business a little bit. They may use a slightly different branding for the Micro Four Thirds lineup. So we don't know. Obviously, they just joined the company. We just don't know exactly what's going on within them, and just time will tell. But let's go back to Lumix, and I can see a lot of comments about the 20. So like you personally, you don't like the 20, but it seems like it's very much a fond with lens within the community.
I think a lot of the early Lumix G primes were very, very compact and sweet for their time. Yep. But I think the AF performance was variable, and I think optically they're quite average. Yeah. Sorry to offend anyone, but apart from finding the 20 f1.7 just too slow, I found what's the other one I had? The 14 f2.5. Very cute little lens, but just too many aberrations. It's just not quite up to par. Horrible purple fringing towards the edges. So I think the early Panasonic primes were cute, but not on the same level as early Olympus primes. No, different level, I think.
Well,
But I think
although having said that, the 14 millimeters 2.8 pancake from Olympus were pretty horrible as well.
true, true.
17, not 14, 17. That was quite
17.
horrible.
I had one for a while, but I didn't know any better. I had it with an EPL1, which is 12 megapixels, and it was all right. But I don't think it was all right today. That's for sure.
Oh no, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah. But in Lumix G, I think if you've got the 12 to 35 and the 35 to 100, you've got a really nice little setup there. Nice pair of lenses and not too big.
Yeah.
If you want anything wider, it's not quite as straightforward. But no, it's still a decent system.
Yeah. And I just saw a comment just popped up from Linda. Actually, no. Before that is this one here. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think MFT platform will die at all. Okay, it's not going to be as big as how it first started, because in the early days of mirrorless revolutions, and the Micro Four Third were almost but dominating everything, because when all the big boys, the full frame guys and APS were still in the DSLR time, when everyone's still buying DSLRs, and Panasonic and Olympus at the time were the only mirrorless company. They make mirrorless cameras. And so obviously, by default, they will have the whole market to themselves. But over time, when everybody's starting to switch, it's going to go back to the old kind of world. If you look at way back, it's just ignoring the point and shoot market, because Olympus was pretty big as a company because they sell a ton of point and shoot cameras back then, so they did enjoy quite a bit of market share based on volume. But if you look at the high-end cameras, it actually kind of reflect almost similar sort of percentage as today's market share. They were never big; they were just there. And similarly to other manufacturers. So the big boys is always going to be Canon and Nikon. Sony, obviously, is a little bit complicated than that. For people who don't know about Sony's history, they bought up Minolta to create what they are today. And Minolta was pretty big. So it's what, almost third, fourth biggest, I think, in terms of DSLR or SLR at the time. I think it was about the third or the fourth biggest. So if you think about it, the position hasn't really changed that much if you're really looking at high-end cameras.
I think the loss has been mostly at the point and shoot end. I don't fully understand that either, because I know that smartphones are reckoned to have killed point and shoot photography.
Yep.
But the way I look at it is a flagship smartphone costs you hundreds of pounds or dollars, possibly 1,000. Whereas a little point and shoot camera used to cost you like 100, 150, 200.
Yeah.
So you'll give your kids a $100 camera and say, don't drop it in the sea. But if they do drop it in the sea, oh dear. But you're not going to do that with a £1,000 smartphone.
No.
And also a point and shoot camera is quite simple to understand. You don't have to launch an app to take pictures, because taking pictures is all it does. Yeah. So
just turn it on, press a shutter, and that's it.
But if the market's gone, the market's gone.
Yeah, but I think that the Micro Four Third platform will remain a very niche player in the field. The advantage is always going to be there, and people are realizing, especially in the sports and also wildlife and outdoor categories. And that is exactly why OM is kind of really focused on. They must have done a SWOT analysis and looking at the market as a whole to think about what they can play, in terms of the genre of photographies.
Street photography and travel. I can't understand why OM System hasn't gone for that as another strand.
Well, they are as of the OM3 launch last year.
Yeah, it's not kind of street and travel photography as we would understand it. There's a bit more high end and a bit more restrained. I just think it needs a bit more vigor, bit more vitality in the marketing. I just want to. Can we just mention something that Linda Marks said?
Which one?
I do buy used, but if you're getting into the small Lumix bodies, that used tech is getting quite old. Electronics will fail. I don't think they necessarily will. If you buy from someone like MPB, you get a 1-year warranty now, which is probably going to be enough for most of us. And I use, my oldest camera is a Canon EOS 50D. How old is that? That's what, 2013, do you think? 13 years old. It still works. Electronics don't automatically fail.
Yep.
So I don't think that's necessarily true. But the other thing is as well that used cameras can be more expensive if they're perceived as classics. Don't buy those. Don't buy those. Buy the ones that are genuinely cheap and good value, I would say. I wouldn't think twice about buying a 10-year-old Panasonic Lumix G because it's going to come with a warranty. I don't think it'll fail because digital cameras, in my experience, all the time I've been writing about them, they are extremely reliable, much more so than electronic devices used to be. I've got older film cameras with electronics that are just fried and kaput. I think electronics have come a long way since those days.
Well, funny you mentioned that. I had an old Fujifilm 645 rangefinder compact camera, the film one, and it's electronic. Believe me or not, and it died a couple of years ago. When I opened it up, and I realized how fragile it is because the circuit board, is probably made by a 3-year-old today because it was wire dangling everywhere. It was just like a very basic soldering on a really simple circuit board.
I've got a Pentax ME Super which is kaput because the shutter speed buttons on the top are failed. And if you dismantle these things, you literally are unsoldering a circuit board from a pentaprism just to get at some of the other stuff. You shouldn't have to fix cameras with the soldering iron. That is quite old school. And I think as well, my Pentax ME Super was made in a day when manufacturers didn't understand how to make buttons that would last and they would be reliable. So I think we've come a long way with electronics.
Yeah. And just to go to another one as well, and Ethan Beckler's about bought the TG5 for his kids. I did the same thing. I had the TG5, TG6, and the TG7. I just passed it to them to, if they got school trips and field trips, take them. They're indestructible. Just take them.
Pretty much. I've got an older version of one of those. They are pretty indestructible.
Yep.
I wish it wasn't. I don't like it very much, but but it is indestructible. Yeah.
They're great for that purpose. I think that OM Systems should really redo a new line of TG. Because the point and shoot market is back, and people may be looking at something a little bit more niche and a little bit more premium, and that would fit the bill quite nicely.
If we're going to be fair about this, I think you'd have to say the TG6 was almost the same as the TG5, which is pretty much.
And the TG7 is a TG6.
Yeah, etc. Yeah. But if it's a design that works, it works.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Well, the TG7 brought out is mainly to do with the brand transition between Olympus to OM Systems. So they did that to change the names on the body. Right. And reshaped the grip a little bit, and also brought in USB-C. I think that's another thing. Yeah. So that was the main changes, but deep down it's still a TG6. Yeah,
I think so. But well, it's all about marketing, I think, and if all the brands were as adept at marketing as Sony is, I think we might have a different picture.
And just looking at quite a few different comments now. Angela Playful one, and you mentioned about some numbers here. I think that there's not denying about that. However, I think OM System actually sold more lenses than bodies last year. So that's another side that they don't usually show or even talk about. But this is, I think, exactly what camera makers should be thinking about, you know, and also the upgrade cycle from their users, because a lot of people may have bought the OM1 and OM1 Mark II literally, you know, just a year or two ago, and those people not necessarily going to be upgrading. In fact, they haven't got any upgrades, so that will impact on the shipments of the camera unit itself. But if they can sell more lenses that can compensate that, it's still a viable business, because that's essentially what every manufacturer wants anyway. Not just about buying body, it's buying to the ecosystem, which including the lenses and flashes on something. Although flashes are kind of almost dead now, but then but people really wanted to get more lenses, and that's what they want. They want you to buy into the system, have a collection of lenses, so you to tie you into the brand and the bodies itself. So as and when there's a new body come out, you're gonna buy it because you already got a bunch of lenses. So I think it's actually may not be a bad reflection on the business itself. And like I said already, you know, MFT is still being widely used in multiple disciplines. I know we talked about Lumix being dormant, almost dormant for a couple of years now, but the GX7 is actually being used by a lot of indie filmmakers and also you know, YouTubers themselves as well, even though they may not talk about a lot, but have a lot of them have been using these sort of cameras for their own filmmakings and video projects, mainly because I think that not only just the form factor, but affordability, because compared to other video rigs, they are extremely affordable, and there are a ton of lenses you can buy. Remember, video making is different type of kind of genre altogether. You don't necessarily need the fastest AF. You don't necessarily need the AI tracking. Many filmmakers do it by hand and manually. So that means that if you think about that, there are absolute hundreds, if not thousands, of choices out there for you to adapt to the GX7 bodies and make films.
Yeah, I think the whole MFT format has been unlucky in the way the camera market has developed, because in terms of the timeline, it would seem as if MFT was there first. Then along came APS-C and full frame, which brought with them the perception of being superior.
Yep.
And which left MFT looking outdated. But it's a crazy situation that you'll get the same people saying that a little vlogging camera with a 1-inch sensor is terrific. It's got a 1-inch sensor. That's massive. That's amazing. Like the relaunched PowerShot GX7 Mark III.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, they'll say a micro four thirds, our sensor's not big enough. It's just, you need APS-C or full frame. The MFT sensor is considerably larger than 1 inch. Yep. So it seems like dual standards. You know, GX7 with its 1-inch sensor, amazing, big sensor. MFT, tiny sensor, even though it's bigger. Makes me mad. It's insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just how the market's perception is, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly.
And it's not just happened, right? It's kind of like a brainwashing exercise for the past 10 years.
Yeah, it is brainwashing. Strong, but yeah, perhaps you're right. It is brainwashing in a sense that everyone's looking for better. Everyone sees progression as being always in the right direction, so that everything, whenever something's bigger, is better, right? So maybe we should be thinking out way about lenses, shouldn't we? This one cost $3,000 when the one before cost $2,500. It's got to be better, right?
Oh, is that the reason why they keep increasing the prices?
Who knows?
Playing with numbers. That's all I can say. Yeah. Let's see what else is in here. Okay, someone's talked about OM, but let's go back a little bit about Camille actually talked about street. I'm going to go back to that, so I'm going to highlight your comment here. And Lumix, I think that what they need at the moment is perhaps a stronger message externally. I mean, internally, like you said, they may be very clear what they're doing, or what they're aiming at, but externally, I think that first of all, there is only a handful of content creators out there that is very actively using Lumix gear. Not like before. You know, when YouTube first started, the first 10 years, a lot of people were using Micro Four Third at the time because, you know, GX4, GX5 were phenomenal cameras, video cameras back then, and everyone using that to making YouTube videos because there was, DSLR, wasn't there, the technology wasn't there, and they're big, heavy, and expensive. On the other hand, the GX5, just over $1,000 at a time, and then micro four third lenses were cheap. So it's very much the game for YouTubers, because YouTubers, I know what you may perceive as a very glamorous thing, but look, not many YouTubers actually can make a living out of it. They may be a side project, like I am, a side project, a side geek, so to speak. They can't afford buying 15,000, 20,000 rig, video rig. For not everybody can spend buying a proper cine camera to do a YouTube videos, and I don't think there is actually that many of them are doing just that. So quite a few of them don't even talk about gear that they use. They simply do making contents, but whatever they use may surprise you. Some of them may be using very low-end gear, and so a lot of them may actually still be using micro four third. They just don't really talk about them, just because
they don't chat about it. It's just a tool. They turn up, do a job, and go away.
Because they may be a lifestyle content creators, or a car fixing business or something like that, but they talk about their content, which is cars and whatever, right? They don't talk about cameras.
The thing is that I think you've got to think about the YouTube market as being like a giant herd of wildebeest. You've got the lead wildebeest heads off in a direction and the rest of them follow. So if you want to do well on YouTube, you do your keyword research, you follow trends, you see what everybody else is talking about, and you talk about it too. So it kind of drives the whole market in a particular direction, which is unfortunate. But I saw a comment made by XC Photography UK Limited.
Yep.
Makes a very good point. It's the term micro that needs addressing. Yes, it is. It is. It doesn't help, does it?
No.
No. It ought to be massive four thirds.
You know what? They they should have kept four third, right? They should have kept four third.
They should.
You know what? Look, we talk about full frame, right? Four third is actually bigger than one. So essentially, we are bigger than full frame. If everyone think the full frame is one, so we are bigger than one.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But micro isn't helping. That's for sure.
Yeah. But I guess at the time they were thinking micro being that they can make things so tiny and small, which they did initially.
Yeah.
Up until the point they start making it so much bigger.
Yeah. Exactly. Which is a shame because small is what it's good at.
Yes. So that goes back to what they should be focusing on, and I think that what we just talked about, ignoring some of the stuff that we previously said about the interview, because they really didn't say much about the upcoming product for micro four third platform, or commitments rather. But you and I wouldn't disagree that there is a trend and there is a demand and needs for tiny cameras, and also something that looks trendy.
If a big YouTuber started talking about something like the Pen EP7 as the ultimate street and travel camera, and got some traction with that, with some nice clickbait titles like "This little camera thrashed my XYZ," it might change, and then Panasonic might listen. And relaunch the GX9.
Well. That's exactly what happened with the Fujifilm X100, right? And it's all it is, just social media blow up, and the whole thing went viral, and now everybody wants an X100 because whatever. To be quite honest, that type of camera exists long before that. Remember the Pen F? Pen F was way before the X100, and it has an interchangeable mount too. That was before the X Pro 1 as well. So like, you think about it, it's always there. This type of cameras, and the Pen series always look, a really good looking retro style camera. If you think way back when Olympus first making mirrorless cameras, so it's always there. But Lumix, on the other hand, I think. Despite they saying that they don't have enough photographic history, that's what they said in the interview, because they're in terms, that's what they said, and as a brand, and then so, but they could draw some inspiration into the design. You know, I don't think, you know, I
If only.
personally say, but I'm just trying to be careful what I'm saying. It might upset some Lumix
Yeah.
users here.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the Lumix camera just doesn't have that physical appeal at the aesthetic, like compared to the likes of maybe some of the other current retro stars like Fujifilm cameras and maybe even the Nikon ZF, and some OM system cameras. It just doesn't have that kind of retro appeal that is current in demand. And secondly, the other thing that I think is the compactness of the gear. Like you and I just literally just talked about, size is what Micro Four Third advantages, and even OM is almost ignoring that, because the smallest one that they do at the moment is still the EM10 Mark IV and the OM5 Mark II. They need something smaller. They need something that can fit in a pocket, that can scream small and tiny.
I think it all starts with the lenses, doesn't it? I mean, this is the killer lens for OM system, the Pancake, the 14.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, it's just it. That's what. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so that's
very small,
that's what makes it a travel camera. It's not necessarily the size of the body.
See,
but
that's a travel camera. It's a point and shoot camera size.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it's the lenses that make a travel system, and that's where OM and Panasonic scored.
When you talked about the argument of 1 inch sensor and a Micro Four Third camera, and that's a 1 inch camera, that is a Micro Four Third camera, and look at the size of it.
Yeah, exactly. And your 1 inch camera doesn't even have interchangeable lenses.
No. It does have an EVF though.
Well, yeah. God damn it.
But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, just like we always say, not just to Lumix but to all camera manufacturers, it seems that they don't really listen to what consumer wants or what customer wants. If they make a hit, they make a hit. But then it's more based on luck.
If the demand was there, the cameras would follow. But I think it's like that chicken and egg situation. The demand isn't there because people don't have the confidence in the brand. And the demand isn't there, so the brand gives up and people don't have confidence, and so on and so on and so on. If OM System could do what Fujifilm did and get somebody on board who really rants and loves one of the OM cameras, maybe the OM3, picked up by a couple of big name influencers who took them everywhere, all over the world, shooting typical influencer content, that would change things. But I don't think OM System is actively pursuing that kind of marketing.
No, well, it is. I mean, it costs them too, right? You know, and people may not know, you know, but some contents are sponsored by companies. And,
for sure, definitely.
You know, you can see that, you know, content creator can't possibly afford multiple trips to different places, and let's put it that way. You know, it's a costly exercise unless they have other side income somewhere that can support the channel. But usually, you know, that type of trip and that type of filming and that type of thing, you know, costs thousands, if not tens of thousands. So like, if without a proper financial backing, it's very hard to doing that continuously. So I'm only speaking from experience, and because YouTube is not as glamorous as some people may think, and it's a lot of hard work. And for people who enjoy that 10 minutes video, it's hours and hours of work behind that.
You thought photo editing was boring. You should try video editing.
Oh yes,
or the endless scrubbing to and fro, checking the audio, lining up the audio, and clipping out the pops and whistles. It is mind-numbing. It takes hours.
You know, just for instance, I mean, I recently followed one a young girl who's very talented. You can see she's a cinematographer, like very fond with the creative side of it. So like her channel is only had about like a dozen videos or a couple of dozens of videos, but she already amassed over 1 million subscribers. The reason why is because each of her vlogs, she call it cinematic vlog, so it's slightly different than normal vlogs. The normal vlog, you're just basically holding a camera in front of you, talking in front of the camera, things like that. She does that, but on the side she has a ton of B-rolls, which are all filmed nicely. But you can see that each of her videos required not one person, but probably a team of 5 to 6 person to do that, holding camera in different angles, shooting from afar. You can't do that by yourself. You can't leave your camera 10 foot away from you because people grab that and go, right? You can't do that by, so you have to have some operators there. So it's a team effort, and it's an expensive exercise. So you only publish one video, maybe 2 months. So like, it's a long time development to do that. But not every content creator will be able to do that unless you have the resources, unless you have contacts, and have you everything that gel together. You want to produce things together, you know. And as a solo creator, you know, this is almost the single-handedly the most challenging thing that they face is how much can you do by yourself, and you know.
When it's only you, everything takes 2 or 3 times longer.
Yep.
Because you know, if it depends on whether you do things from a script, so you need some kind of teleprompter on a clamp next to your camera just to get the sight line right, or if you're good at ad-libbing. I'm not particularly good at that because I'll end up with a 1 hour video I only want 10 minutes from. That's a pain. And you know, you are gonna have to put your camera on a tripod, take several paces away. You're gonna look like a complete idiot if it's just you talking to a camera. And if you don't pick a spot, that your gear is susceptible to opportunistic thieves. I've got a friend who tests microphones, and he's always working alone, and he does a range test. So he films, and he goes away. Like 100 yards away, 100 yards away to check the wireless connection doesn't drop out. I say, has nobody ever stolen your phone? He chooses with the phone. He said, I just have to choose a location where there's nobody about. Fortunately, I know his secret location, and it's very good. But it's you can't just have your camera over there on a busy street and talk to it, because somebody's going to have it away with that.
Yeah.
It's awkward. So yeah, solo shooting for YouTube is a lot of work.
Yeah, sure. I mean that got, the reason I mentioned that is goes back to, you know, the appeal of Michael Four Thirds. That people may not have realized this because they don't have the exposure like other brands or other formats. But behind the scene, you know, God knows how many are actually still using GX5, GX6, and GX7 for making YouTube videos. Even DP reviews and still use GX7s a lot, and also Petapixel. You know, sometimes you see the video was actually filmed with GX7. Not often these days, but every now and then you'll see they still use GX7 to do the work. Because for YouTube, especially the compression and everything like that, and you know, it doesn't make any difference. You know, the only difference you are really going to see is perhaps compression and depth of field. But Rod and I talked about this. You know, it's all depending on how you adjust to different system and you play with the lenses and the focal length and make that look almost identical. They may not be the same because essentially they're still a crop a camera, so you're not going to have the same like for like imagery using the same lens and the same aperture, but you can adjust to create similarly looking footage in the video production.
It's annoying in a way because you'll get people who shoot on full frame saying they want the cinematic look where they've got lots of very shallow depth of field. Seems to me you can equally well have a counter argument saying I need a lot of depth of field for what I shoot because I need my subject talking to the camera in focus. I need the background in focus. I can't do that in full frame. I have to use Micro Four Thirds for that. There's always two sides to any argument, but you know, the full frame argument always seems to win. But it's a mistake, I think.
Just one comment I just saw Lars talked about. Rod, you're wrong. Electronics do fail, especially capacitors. I'm on my 3rd GM5 now. What the first thing that pops in my mind?
On the 3rd what, sorry?
3rd GM5. The Lumix GM5.
That's an old camera.
Yes, it is. But Lars, may I say, you must be very rich because GM5 is selling about $1,000 each now. So that means that you spend about $3,000 on GM5s.
well, Lars, I'm wrong about your GM5, but I'm right about all my cameras because they haven't failed. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's put it. Nothing lasts forever, and
no, nothing lasts forever.
And
but that's why used cameras cost less.
Yeah, and there are cameras that are very ruggedly built and things like that. But you still hear cases where they fail even when they're only a couple of years old. You know, so it's just, I guess, to some extent, maybe luck, maybe a little bit to do with it. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think older cameras are closer to failure than newer ones.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as saying they will fail.
Yeah.
But from what Lars commented, I don't think I'm going to buy a GM5 then, because if he's on his third, that can't be good. I'll stick to what I know.
Yeah. And added that back, interesting comment about a new Micro Four Third lens coming from SG Imaging. Right, SG Imaging. This name, for some reason, has been popping up very, very frequently in the past couple of months. I don't know why. I have no idea. But I can tell you that I have contacted SG Imaging, and so I am getting a lens for review. But it's not Micro Four Thirds, so don't get too excited. But I want to see what their lenses are like. They are autofocus. Apparently, they are very small company, very new. They do have a small selection of manual focus lenses, and they are now venturing into autofocus arena. So I have one for test at the moment, because that's a lens actually being raved about from SG, and that's the one that I got from them. So if things goes the right way, and they may actually send me something for Micro Four Third if they do have one in the future, and then I can maybe able to share that with you guys. But in the meantime, SG Imaging is a name that perhaps pay some attention to, because they seems to be getting a lot of rave within China. So that may become a viral thing in the future for the international market. Who knows, but all we know is at the moment, anything from China is either going to be Viltrox or Lao at the moment. So all the other seems to be taking the secondary back row seats.
Well, yeah, Lao seems to have gone quiet. Venus Optics, they've gone a bit quiet with MFT, haven't they? So who knows? But I think the other issue for Lumix, of course, is that there's no upgrade path from Lumix G to Lumix S.
No.
You can't.
Or vice versa.
You can't. You can't put Lumix G lenses on a Lumix S body.
No.
They're just, it's like Fujifilm X mount and GFX. There's no crossover.
What? I would like to see Lumix S lenses have an adapter to work with the Micro Four Third. I can understand, like, Micro Four Third lenses can't mount it on the full frame body, but full frame lens should be able, because the image circle is bigger, so you should be able to make it work for Micro Four Third. You just crop it.
Why would you want to use Lumix S lenses on your MFT body?
The reach. Even though, like, you can get some pretty big L mount lenses from Sigma and use it as a big zoom lens for Micro Four Third. You never know.
You could.
Yes.
It's a thought. It's a thought. I don't know how sharp they'd be, but interesting. Perhaps an adapter does exist.
This side towards screen actually said, does Blackmagic make cameras with Micro Four? They did have Micro Four Third Cine cameras, Blackmagic.
The original Pocket Cinema 4K was Micro Four Thirds.
Yes, so they are still a member of Micro Four Third. They haven't abandoned it. They just haven't made any updates to the since the last Micro Four Third camera, and that's been a few years already. You just don't know. You just don't know.
I think the Pocket Cinema 4K is probably gone. There might still be some in stock here and there, but I don't think there's going to be any further development of that format.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was quite revolutionary.
I mean, I love the screen. The screen was massive.
Yeah. Who knew that you could get a big screen for video? Obvious, but how many companies do it?
Yeah. And just looking at all the other comments, we got quite a few comments. Sorry, I'm scrolling through the comments quite slowly at the moment. So let's see. Right. Did anything catch your eyes, Rod? I can bring it up.
So I can't pronounce it. Camille Meidnick.
Camille,
speaking of flower, Camille, I'd buy a 6mm f2 for M43.5 if they gave it autofocus. I don't think that can be done, because I think the reason that the 6mm f2 is so small and so good is because it doesn't have autofocus. I think once you start putting autofocus in, you have to start redesigning the optics to create a small and light focus group that can actually be moved quickly. Whereas with manual mechanical focus, it's a lot simpler. You just rack the lens in and out. So if they made an AF version, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah,
I think it would be bigger, and
Yep.
it may not be optically quite the same. But
Well,
you know, manual focus is not the end of the world.
no,
There's so much
especially
there's so much depth of field with that lens. You hardly have to focus.
exactly. That was what I was gonna say. You know, like on the Micro Four Third, you know, the 6 millimeters, you literally don't even have to adjust the focus.
No, you just get the scale roughly in the right part, and it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And also it will trigger the focus magnification in the EVF.
Yeah.
So if you turn the focus ring, you can set the camera up to magnify the image as you turn the ring.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you can have that if you want to, but honestly, I think you can just leave it at or near infinity.
Yeah.
Except that the focus scale isn't terribly accurate, so we might have to experiment a little.
Yeah. Well,
but just treat it as a fixed focus lens.
That's one thing that I think all Chinese manufacturers should address is the focusing scale. I don't think any of them are accurate, to be honest.
in the old days with film SLRs, and lenses, you could turn the lens to the infinity end stop, and it would be at infinity. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Sadly.
I know, and I mean, I think you agree as well. The Panasonic Leica 9mm 1.7 is currently the widest AF prime for Micro Four Third. Well, actually, no, the widest is actually the Olympus 8mm fisheye, but there's a fisheye lens,
Right,
but it's a
it's a
prime.
fisheye.
It's autofocus, so that's the widest if you think about that.
So this is a weakness for MFT, I think, and that is wide angle primes.
Yeah.
So if you've got a Sony E camera, say, or an L-man camera, you can get a Sigma 14mm with autofocus. You can get if you're with Canon RF, you can get the 10 to 20 zoom with autofocus.
Yep.
So I think OM system and MFT in general is short of wide angle autofocus lenses and small ones, because they shouldn't be big, should they? But they are somehow.
Yeah.
So I think that's one area of weakness for the format.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree at all, because I recently reviewed the Sigma 10 to I can't remember the focal length. There's a zoom lens, the ultra wide zoom lens, was it 10 to 25, 2.8. But that
what the one
the one I just had,
for feature film, 10 to 18.
10 to 18, 2.8. So full frame equivalent is 15mm, 1.5 crop, so 15mm, constant 2.8 aperture. So you would have thought that kind of lens would be, well, if equivalent in size, if not bigger than the Micro Four Third 8 to 25 f4 Pro, or maybe even the Lumix 7 to 14 f2.8 to f4 Panasonic Leica zoom lens. But no, it's smaller, but not just smaller, by a little bit, quite a bit smaller than the Micro Four Third lens, and it's autofocus. So, you know, I actually think that lens could easily be adapted to Micro Four Third platform if they really want to, because it's a smaller lens. It's a wide,
but
it's
it
wide
would
angle.
only be,
it
would only be a 20 to 36 though, wouldn't it? Which is probably not wide enough. But I agree. I think the Olympus 7 to 14 2.8 is perhaps bigger than it ought to be. I think the 8 to 25 f4 is unexpectedly large, I thought. And for Lumix G, which I guess is how we started, the 7 to 14 is still quite big, and
it is big,
the Panasonic Leica 8 to 16, I can't remember.
I can't remember now. Too many of them.
that is a big lens. So all of those MFT ultra wide zooms are, I think, bigger than they ought to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not too expensive, but
no. I mean, they're good.
Bulky.
The thing is, they are all good lenses, you know. But I think they could work on the size a little bit, especially you know, OM system. I think that the way they're going at the moment, concentrating on outdoor, wildlife, and perhaps landscape photography, because they do promote a lot of landscape stuff. And landscape, you know, we all know that if you're into landscape game, you would like a really nice and sharp, you know, ultra wide prime, a wide angle prime, and they haven't refreshed both I'm talking about both in OM system and Panasonic. I mean, although we talked about the 9mm, but that's the only one that's been updated in, let's say, the last 5 years.
And if you look at the new OM3 Astro edition, designed specifically for astrophotography, where is the ultra wide, ultra fast prime to go with it? Yeah, which you would use for astro work. You know, the widest prime is that Panasonic at 9mm. That's 18mm equivalent. That's not particularly wide for astrophotography. Yeah. So it's like it's a camera waiting for a lens, that one, I think.
Yeah. Well,
but if you go to full frame, you've got no end of very fast, very wide primes.
Well, so, I think based on that, and in fact, I just had had a quick meeting with OM this morning. They already told me that the OM3 Astro is sold out.
Really?
Completely.
They only made 6.
the entire Europe. Well, the production is quite low because they want to gauge
they
want to gauge the demand because it's a very niche product. But they have sold out in the entire Europe, so the demand seems to be there. So they're now increasing production for that model.
Yeah.
But if that takes a hold, that takes hold in terms of the in terms of trending and marketing, you never know. They may produce a wide-angle lens, but in the meantime, like you said, there isn't any autofocus lenses out there that would take advantage of the Starry Sky AF functionality on the cameras. There is Laowa 6mm as a manual focus.
You're going to have to get the Laowa. And you have to focus it manually. And it probably will be somewhat critical because I don't know about the stills version, but the cine version of that lens, the infinity marker was pretty vague. It was wrong, to be fair. So you are going to want to focus that lens manually on something as critical as Starry Sky. Yeah. But you only have to do it once. So you can spend the rest of the night doing your photography.
Well, so let's see then. If that demand seems to be picking up, you never know that whether OM will refresh some of the wide-angle primes. I'm still really hoping to see the brand new 12mm. Wow. That would be nice.
Or should OM pay Laowa to make lenses under license and brand them as OM lenses? If Nikon can do it with Tamron. Maybe our own system could do it with Laowa. That would be nice. Although I'm not entirely sure whether, because Laowa hasn't really made any autofocus lenses outside of the full frame market. They only have full frame autofocus. They would be manual.
Having said that though, Yongnuo I think is the only one that has autofocus Micro Four Thirds lenses made in China. And they have 17. They have 4 lenses. They had 3 primes, the 17, 25, and 45 1.7, and then they have the zoom, which is actually very first zoom in terms of third party making in China. The 12 to 35 f2.8 to f4 zoom lens, which I have one, not particularly great lens, but then but it's the thought that counts. So that at least they make one. But it's something to think about. I think that there is certainly some demands there for ultra wide. Personally, I would like to see an upgraded 12mm. That's one of my personal favorite street lens that I use on my Pen F and my OM3, the 12mm, because it's really tiny, very small. And it just goes well with the whole overall handling of it, not particularly big and long. If they make us, an updated version like the 17 and then 25 1.8 Mark II, make it weather sealed, I would be more than happy to get one up because that would make it nice.
If they could just improve the optics a little bit, because it's not great at the edges, really. I mean it's all right, but whereas the 17 and the 25 and the others are excellent, the 12 is not quite so excellent. But it is a really nice lens.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And the build quality is phenomenal. I mean, it feels like a Leica lens.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's nice to just put it on a small body like an EM10 or a Pen or a Pen F and just walk around doing street photography is perfect for that.
Yeah,
if you like your street photography quite wide.
I actually, I do actually, and I saw a photographer yesterday, like literally walked around Westminster area having a Pen F and the 12 combo, which I often do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was actually, I think he's a traveler. He's a tourist with his family. So he's got him holding the camera and his young son and a wife just behind him. So he was holding that camera, taking photos everywhere. It's good for him.
That's nice to know that somebody's using one. Sorry, I'm just
Yeah. Well, actually,
there's
funny.
my 12. There's my 12.
Funny you mentioned that, actually.
Somewhere.
I was only last week. I was at an event about like some sort of gathering, and you know what? Yeah, you wouldn't believe me. I was walking around, just kind of noticing what people are using with the cameras. There are a bunch of Sony cameras, but guess what? Come next, the amount of Micro Four Thirds cameras has been that used by people. Just walking around, and I also saw exactly what brand they use as well, because it's quite easily tell. And I would say 80% of them are actually Olympus. And I say Olympus because they were kind of older cameras. They're more likely the EM10 or the EM5. So it's quite interesting to see. Actually, there are a lot of people still using Micro Four Thirds. So that back to the kind of argument about what we said earlier about the platform itself. I mean, I think the platform is doing fine. People may not be upgrading, and but doesn't mean that there's no people using them at all. And at the same time, I think, like I go back to the same argument earlier that I said that it's probably better for OM to sell more lenses anyway. And I think that sorry, this is my daughters keep asking for screen time. Sorry.
You're such a strict parent.
Yes, I am, unfortunately. Well, you don't know these days, right? I keep warning them about social media, even though I'm on it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't do what I do what I say.
Yes, exactly. That's the wording I should use now. Right. Okay. Is there any other questions and things that you may want to reflect about the Lumix interview, Rod? I think we kind of say it all now. And in terms of Micro Four Thirds, there certainly isn't a clear answers from Lumix themselves that whether they are going to have a strong futures or commitment to the product lineup. They're not going to give up. They're still going to be part of the alliance. That's without a doubt. I think they're going to remain there for the foreseeable future. But are they going to launch anything new? That's questionable. They when I say new, all new, I'm talking about, not reheated product. Yeah. And you know what reheated product usually like is a bit chewy. It's just like heating things up where you're reheating stuff in microwave, right? A bit chewy.
It doesn't taste as good as it did the first time around.
No. So that will be my only concern, but you never know.
Well, I suspect there won't be any new cameras, I'm afraid. But we may get reheats. But I think all the makers share some blame here. I mean, how often is it that Nikon or Canon or Sony launch a genuinely new camera?
No. Yeah,
Not
exactly. If you look deep down, they're actually using old techs as well.
Yeah. I think possibly what hasn't helped Olympus or OM system is the thing that many people would say is the biggest step forward. I'm not sure the stacked sensor has helped, because that's driven the cameras up market and the prices with them, while the perceived headline specs aren't any better. You're still buying a 20 megapixel camera that costs a lot more than it used to. Now, anyone who knows anything about this will know the benefits of the stacked sensor, but to the market as a whole, it doesn't look good. Because the old cameras without the stacked sensor, they were pretty good too. So the advantages for the extra cost aren't obvious.
No,
they're obvious when you understand the technicalities, but they're not going to be obvious to the average buyer.
And that good actually that you mentioned about stacked sensor, because if for people who don't know what they are, they are one of the fastest readout speed sensors on the market, in terms of technologies. And they are relatively high cost for the manufacturers. So the a stacked sensor, it costs significantly more than the traditional CMOS sensors.
This is why they're not common. I mean, the Sony A9 III is a very expensive camera. I know it also has the global shutter, which makes a difference. But any camera with a fully stacked sensor is considerably more expensive than one that doesn't. If you compare, say, the Nikon Z8 and Z9 prices with the Z7 or the Z7 II, one has stacked sensor, the other doesn't. There's a big difference in the price. So I think this has been a selling point for our own system, but also a disadvantage in terms of perception in the market.
I mean, I guess if they could make a stacked 25 megapixel, that might have changed that would have made a difference. The narrative quite a bit. Yeah.
And I think it doesn't help that the Lumix managed to make a non-stacked 25 megapixel for the GH7, which was still fast enough for professional quality video.
Yeah.
So it's kind of undermined the whole concept of a stacked sensor. If camera makers can make fast cameras without them.
Yes, for OEM's defense, I mean, I think the stacked sensor for their usage is for the blackout-free EVF experience. I think that's probably the only thing that they that I would say that you can see the difference. And
that's the difference in a market which doesn't understand these technicalities. For action photography, that is absolutely vital, but it's a very difficult thing to sell to people who don't understand the difference. So a blackout-free viewfinder is one of the biggest things. That is always a problem with early mirrorless cameras. No matter what the burst speed was, the viewfinder was just too slow to let you pan with a fast-moving subject. It's almost impossible with an older mirrorless camera because all you see on the screen is the image it last took, a fraction of a second after it took it. You can't keep things in the viewfinder, and it's a paradox that DSLRs were better because although you had the interrupted view from the mirror going up and down, that's a mirror going up and down, by the way. But it's an optical. You only got to see through the optical viewfinder for half the time you were shooting, but it's enough, and it was live. Whereas with mirrorless cameras, if you don't have a blackout-free screen, it's not easy to follow a moving subject.
So that is a very good advantage of for birders. That's why the OM1 is particularly favored by birders and bird photographers, because they are fast moving and you have to follow them in the air, and because sometimes pan left and right can be very tricky. So a blackout free vinder can be very very critical and crucial.
People get hung up on autofocus and subject recognition and tracking. If you haven't got a blackout-free viewfinder, it's academic because you can't follow your subject anyway. So, but it's not a headline feature. It's that people don't understand it in the same way they understand AI and autofocus.
I mean, you can see, that's why even other companies don't particularly, make a blackout-free EVF as a headline kind of a selling point. Even with the flagship cameras, they talk about resolution, they talk about how fast you can speed, and then you see the blackout free EVF as a little kind of bullet point somewhere in the marketing material.
So Sony used to call it live view as well. Sony would have a camera that could say shoot at 10 frames a second. Oh, great. Then asterisk 8 frames a second in live view, and you think, I thought it's all live view. But no, that was just explaining that if you actually want to see what's happening as it happens, and not what happened half a second ago, you do need to slow down the burst rate. So blackout free shooting, terribly important. But it's a hard thing to explain to an audience.
It is. I think you got the point right there. I mean, because traditionally Michael thought that, because of the sensor size, I think it's physics, right? It's got less distance for the electronic to travel. So, it does have a relatively fast readout compared to larger sensor. So rolling shutters were never really a problem for Micro Four Thirds users, even if you're using electronic shutter mode in both Panasonic or OM system cameras. It's not going to be a problem. You unless you pan very very fast, and you kind of see a little bit of a jelly effects. But otherwise, you're going to be fine with day-to-day normal shooting scenarios. So you're not going to be worrying too much about it. But a stack sensor will almost, I wouldn't say completely, but almost removing 99% of the time, even when passing a little bit faster, just because how fast the sensor can read. But again, this is a feature that perhaps not going to be realized or understand by a lot of people if they don't shoot that fast.
just to say something controversial, what if OM system had not put the stack sensor in the OM3, but given it the older unstacked sensor and sold it for less money? Would that have been a cleverer move? Because you're not going to use the OM3 for birding or for motorsports. You possibly might use it for video, I suppose, where the stack sensor would be an advantage. But honestly, I think the OM3 is more a kind of retro photography travel enthusiast market when you don't need the stacked sensor. But it might have been wise to make the camera with the older sensor for less money, because it's an expensive camera.
It is an expensive camera, but in hindsight, I mean, so now we are talking about camera pricing, and but it's an interesting point, because if you look at the OM5 Mark II price compared to the OM3 price, the difference of was this at £600? I think. £600.
It's a lot, yeah.
When we talk about like RRP, we're not talking about street price now, because both have been discounted since. But when the launch price of OM5 Mark II and OM3, there's about £600 difference. It is quite a lot, because it's looking about percentage-wise, is you're literally talking about 50-60% more, OM3 than the OM5 Mark II. But the increase in build quality and also weather ceilings, I don't know, AI features, it does count a little bit, but is it enough to justify the upgrade from a non-stacked sensor to a stacked sensor?
This is the thing for me. If anyone were to ask my advice, I would have to say, if you're into birding and sports and video, get the OM5, not the OM5, sorry, the OM1 Mark II, because it's good at that. If you're interested in something compact and portable for photography and travel, get the OM5 II. I find it difficult to think of a situation where I'd recommend the OM3, sadly, because I think it's what makes it expensive doesn't really suit that camera. It does stuff that a camera like that wouldn't normally have to do.
Well, I would say differently.
I've done it now.
Differently.
That's torn it.
Well, I mean, I personally like the OM3, but like I always favor the OM5 or the EM5 for that matter for the form factor, because it is a smaller camera, a lighter camera. Yeah. To me, it is better for traveling because it is lighter and smaller. It's easier to pack and walk with. But OM3 is a gorgeous camera. I think OM3 has the allure of like a bit like the X100 series cameras, and yes, it is a retro focus for the fashion conscious bunch, if you know what I mean.
But see, my argument is its appeal is its design, not its technology. And if OM System was to say to me, look, you're going to have the OM3 with the stacked sensor for £1,600, is it? $15.99, something like that.
$16.99, I think. Remember, it first came out.
$16.99. Yeah. Or you can have the OM3 with the regular sensor for $12.99.
Yeah.
Guess which one I'd buy?
You know what? Based on your argument, they should have done what Fujifilm has done with the S2H, right? XH2. So they have the XH2 and the XH2S. Right, the XH2S with the stack sensor, lower resolution, 24 megapixel stack sensor. The XH2, the normal one, is a non-stack sensor, but with 40 megapixel sensor. Maybe they could have done something like this.
Different. Yeah. I think the Fujifilm comparison is appropriate, because I think what you could say is with Fujifilm, you can either get the, what should we pick? Let's say you can either get the Fujifilm. I'm trying to think of a good direct comparison. So you could have the XT50, 40 megapixels, very fast, very competent, or you could have the XT30 Mark II, which is much cheaper but does everything it needs to. So they're both quite appealing cameras physically. But I do think this about the OM system decision. I think the OM3 with the cheaper sensor at a cheaper price would have appealed to me more than the current model does. And if you were to say to me, well, what about the stacked sensor, the burst speeds, the blackout-free shooting, the autofocus, the video, I'd have said, then I'd get the OM1 too.
I mean, I still think that OM3 was a niche product, but it's a good niche product in my view. They had to draw a line somewhere. I mean, the OM3 essentially is almost like the original Pan F when it first came out. It's a premium. It's supposed to be a premium product, an expensive product, supposedly with the latest tech in it, and then which was, you know, the Pan F was the very first camera that Olympus did with a 20 megapixel sensor. Remember that? And then so the Pan F did have the latest sensor back then, while all the others were 16 megapixel.
I think that's slightly different because the Pan F had that higher resolution sensor because it's all about outright image quality, whereas the stack sensor in the OM3 is all about speed, which I think is possibly less relevant for that kind of camera. But anyway, it's a minor point. But I just feel that sensor and the cost of including it in a camera has negatively affected OM Systems' apparent value for money. But put it this way, if you think a stacked sensor is essential for high-speed photography, and you might be right, there's no cheaper way to get a stacked sensor than the OM1.
No. I mean, I certainly enjoyed the experience from stacked sensor, and now I'm kind of hooked into it, believe me or not. And you know, I many of you may for new listeners or for new people in this channel may not know me, that I now use multiple brands, even though I use OM system gear a lot. I'm an OM system ambassador by default, but I do use other gear for other projects and stuff. So I do have a bunch of cameras now. The stacked sensor cameras that I have now is the OM1 Mark II, the OM3, and I also have the Fujifilm X-H2S. They're all stacked sensor cameras. And we already mentioned about blackout-free EVF. I actually quite enjoy that quite a bit, even though I don't shoot fast stuff, but I just like to see without any sort of jittery actions when I do shoot. It's quite a good experience. And now when I switch back to other system that has non-stacked sensor, for instance, and I have the ZF, the full frame camera, the S9 is not, and the XM5, and it doesn't have the same kind of smooth experience, I would call it, you know, when I'm shooting. Even like I said already, I don't shoot particularly fast action stuff, and but it's just the experience of using a stack sensor is quite different. They are expensive.
Responsiveness,
I have to say that they are expensive, and but I'm kind of can't go back now. I've tried it, so it's quite hard for me to move back to non-stacks.
Exactly.
Unfortunately,
of course.
Yeah. But you know, having said that, I just want to show you one thing, guys. So what do you think of an orange lens?
It's amazing. It's amazing. If only the camera was orange as well.
Oh dear! Well, it's a new lens from.
I like the lens hood
from TT Artisan, and
I like the lens hood.
The lens hood does nothing. I tested it. That does absolutely nothing.
It doesn't have to do anything. It looks good.
Yes, it looks good. It looks good. Same thing as the square hood on the Olympus 12mm. I love that square hood. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I wish I could afford it, Jimmy. That lens costs enough already. Surely they could have given you a lens hood as well.
That I know. Why didn't they actually include it in a bundle? But that's beyond me. And you have to buy them separately, and which is about £60. I remember that lens hood, which is really, really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And you can buy third-party ones, but they just don't fit properly.
No,
And they just
no.
don't stay on the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is quite annoying to spend all that money on a lens and not get a hood. Very poor, very poor.
Yeah.
It's as bad
But
as Canon.
yeah, I know. But let's go back to a little bit about Lumix, though. Now we talked about MFT, and from the interview that we watched, like I said, for those who just joined us, I have the link in the description, so you can actually see the whole interview yourself. The Japanese director was responding every question in Japanese, so everything was subtitled and translated. For those who understand Japanese, you may have a different take. And like I said, from the beginning of this video or this broadcast, everything we said is based on personal experience and personal opinion only. So there's nothing relating to any official announcements or anything kind of really solid evidence in terms of product features and product announcements and future directions of Lumix. It's purely a personal piece today, and so you hope you all understand that. But anyway, going back to Lumix a little bit now, we talked about MFT. What about the S9, right? You know, we talked a little bit about that, and even previously we talked about the full frame Lumix cameras. You know, it's a weird thing to me because initially I didn't like the move because I'm an MFT guy. So I thought, you know, why would Lumix, you know, get into full frame to fight with the big boys when the market is already saturated with different models that you can think of, you know, for different type of photography genres and anything like that. You know, but they have, you know, they have done it, and they have done it for 6 years now, according to the interview. They said they started the first full frame cameras, the S9 cameras, 6 years ago. So it's been 6 years they've been doing full frame cameras. So how far have they got? How far have they carved themselves into this full frame market, this competitive full frame market, and how many people are actually using the cameras for photography and videos? And I just want to hear from everybody who may have used S9 products, and just to gauge your experience with them. Do you like the full frame cameras? How does it compare to if you have experience with other cameras, for instance? I would like to hear from you as well. But Rod, you tried a few S cameras, and what's your general take? You know, when you compare to, let's say, other brands.
I'd like to know if anyone here ever used the original Lumix S1 and S1R. That would be interesting to know what people think about those. I did, and I would much rather shoot with them than with the S5 and S1 II, because the cameras were they were big and heavy cameras, but I just liked the way they handled. Focusing wasn't especially quick. I mean, you wouldn't use them for continuous AF or focus tracking for video, but as cameras to use for photography, I felt the original S1 and S1R were at the peak, and what's come after has been somewhat disappointing. As physical cameras to use.
Carl said that he likes the S1R.
Yeah,
Chunky.
Exactly. And it had a status panel on the top. But yeah, chunky, but then so with the Lumix S lenses. So if you're going to have chunky lenses, you want a chunky camera.
Yes.
That's my argument.
Well,
I thought they were great.
I mean, I find it quite confusing myself, and about not only the product lineup, because they got so many kind of like overlapping products, but I did buy the S9, and only like was it a couple of months ago? I think I bought the S9 when they secretly launched the silver versions of it. I mean, I didn't even know it exists until I went to the website and saw that you can buy them.
Color they didn't do, apparently. yeah.
So I bought. I actually one of the first one have to have the silver cameras in the UK at least, and because they didn't really make an announcement for it, which is about 2 weeks after I bought the camera. Then I saw the newsletter saying that now they have the silver version of the S9. But anyway, that's beside the story. The story that I'm trying to tell is that the S9 that I initially cussed, you know, when I first launched, you know, a year or so ago, I actually came to quite like it, you know, not because of it's a bad camera. And I mean, I think if you look at the spec and the technology itself, the S9 is actually pretty convincing. It's almost like a full frame version of the Fujifilm X-M5. It's a small, tiny camera, and that does quite a few things right. And unlike the X-M5, the S9 has IBIS, which is something that I really was hoping the X-M5 has. Yeah. So the S9 has IBIS, which is a good plus for me already, even though it's not very effective, as some of you may already see my vlog using the S9 and a 16mm lens 4. So, but it does the job, let's say. But it's a capable camera. The video codec especially, I love the video quality coming up from the S9. The photo quality is still to be determined because I haven't got enough lenses for me to explore the opportunity. So time will tell when I have a few more L-mount lenses so I can mount it on and test the image quality. But I think it's actually a very decent camera, especially for the current price in the UK. Because in the UK now, S9 is selling for peanuts. And when I say peanuts, it's almost, when I say almost, it's very close to the price of X-M5, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
Just try buying a bag of peanuts these days. It's quite close. Yeah, but I think Lumix in the UK is cheaper than it is in the US, I think.
Yeah, so it's crazy because I bought the S9 brand new directly from Panasonic. So it's not from a retailer, which usually give you extra discount or whatever. And it's about 800 and something pound, and that is a very cheap price for a full frame camera with IBIS and literally full features, I would say. Okay, it doesn't have a lot of high-end stuff. Let's be honest about it. So it's not going to be matching the speed of S5 or whatever. Like it doesn't have 4K 60, for instance. The top side 4K 30 in video specs. So it's pretty.
Is it 4K 60 in Super 35 mode?
No, it doesn't even have that option.
It doesn't do it at all.
No, it doesn't do that at all.
Oh,
and
gosh,
unless I haven't figured that out yet, I may be wrong. But I've been shooting 4K 25 all so far. I haven't done anything faster because I couldn't find the menu. So I may be wrong. Maybe there is some special setting that I could do and make it a little bit faster, even in crop mode.
Can you do 4K? You must be able to do 4K 30, but maybe you have to put it into PAL mode or something, which is no NTSC mode, which is Canon did this for a while. It still hung on to PAL and NTSC frame rates for video, even though, it's not even a thing anymore. No. But I think on one of my not quite new Canons that I reviewed a few years back, to get 30 frames a second, you had to tell it was in the US. Shooting NTSC just to get 30, not 25 frames per second. Very weird.
I know. I really find it annoying.
Have you tried using the LUTs feature?
No, I don't. I don't.
The reason I ask is because I use LUTs a lot for photo editing, even though they're kind of a video thing. But I've got a LUTs pack with probably a couple of hundred different LUTs in, and they have very strong looks, which are much stronger than inbuilt camera styles. So the idea of being able to import my favorite LUTs into the Lumix S9 is quite appealing. So it's
okay.
Well, I think that's a good feature.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm more of a control freak. So, whatever I do, photos or video. Video, I just shoot in log. I grade it myself, and then the photos I shoot in raw again. I just use my own set color grading techniques and do it.
So you're not interested in gimmicks like LUTs?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I know plenty of people do, but just personal stuff. Yeah. Because when Lumix talked about the real-time LUT and things like that, it sounds fantastic, but I know for a fact that it's one feature that I don't ever use.
I will not mention it again, Jimmy. I promise I will not mention that again.
But go back to the S9. I think that at current price, it's a fantastic camera. But not so much when it was first announced, which is like £1,400. No.
Thing is, it seems to me as well that it's almost a step back in what you can do with these things, because for a modern camera not to be able to shoot 4K 60, full width 4K 60 is an option.
Yeah.
is pretty poor, I think. But so many full frame cameras still can't.
No.
And yet, if you go back to Micro Four Thirds,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought you could do that as far back as could you do it as far back as the GH5? I'm not sure.
GX,
But
yes,
certainly
GX.
more-
I think GX5 can do 4K 60 in cropped. I think slightly cropped, was it? I don't think it's
Oh,
full
it's slightly
width.
cropped. Okay. But
But
sometimes you
yeah.
can step backwards in capabilities
Yes.
because you're going for a larger sensor.
Yeah. Well, look,
So it's a bit
OM system
crazy.
and OM system. Well, Olympus never had a camera that has video capability that can shoot faster than 30 frames, and
No.
only until they have the stack sensor, then they have the 4K
Yeah,
60.
Yeah. Could they do like full HD at high frame rates? I imagine they probably could.
They do, yeah.
But
4
of course
HD,
Yeah.
you can shoot up to 60 in older cameras,
Yeah.
and then but for the 4K. No, not even 4K actually. OM system cameras.
No.
For
It's only
100 frame
with
and
the stack
120,
sensor.
yeah, 100 frame, 120 frame, you can do in HD only, not 4K. Yeah,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Even
Which
with the
is a bit
latest
of a thing.
cameras.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the Lumix cameras, the G9 Mark II and the GX7 can do 4K 120,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous.
And is that full width or is that cropped?
Full width, yes.
You see, and if you in a full frame camera, you had to pay a great deal of money to get that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
I think you probably had to go. Yeah.
So that's one appeal that I really love the Lumix GX7 is because of 4K 120 without crop. So that's amazing.
And it's quite handy for vlogging because if you play stuff back in real time, it can look quite jerky.
Yep.
And broken up and kind of rough and ready. But it's the usual favorite vlogging trick is to film at 60 or 120,
Yeah.
play back slow, and everything is super smooth and wonderful.
That's the little trick that no one tells everybody.
Yeah, sorry.
You just revealed it now. Yeah. And Mark Hassler actually say that about hello Mark and welcome to the party. We don't mind you're late. You can always rewatch the first half of it.
Yeah.
Is the S9 a great little option for street and converting old lenses?
I would say you can answer this, Jimmy. You got the S9. I think using all the lenses without a viewfinder is
going to be a bit
problematic.
tricky. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, especially older lenses that when you talk about like manual focus lenses, if I'm curious about, because if manual focus, I always prefer having a viewfinder, not because of the viewing experience. It's more about handling, because when you hold up the camera in your eye level, you're holding up properly and secure, and you look through a viewfinder to double check the critical focus, if that's your thing. When you're holding it, because when the S9 doesn't have EVF, that means that if you want to manual focus the lens, you have to hold the arm length because that's how you see the screen.
Yeah.
When you turn, you're wobbling everywhere, and I just don't think it's a very secure way to shoot manual lenses.
And EVFs have a higher magnification, so it's easier to see the focus going in and out.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure it would be, if I'm honest. I think
it works great for street for sure.
Yeah,
but I think that goes back to the argument that Rod and I talked about before. Is unfortunately there is not many small, good, fast prime lenses for the S9. You know, S9 is a small camera, small body, but it doesn't have a lens this size. So, or even smaller. It doesn't.
That you can get some nice Sigma contemporary primes.
Yes.
Which you wouldn't call them small, but they're reasonably compact. I haven't tried one on the S9.
Yeah.
But they might be a reasonable match. You know, you can get things like there's a 24 f3.5.
Yep.
Which might be all right. But there are some f2 primes which are a bit heavy, but they might be all right on that camera. But I'm not sure it's ideal for street photography.
Or if you can wait, Viltrox is now part of the L-mount alliance. They will release release a bunch of f2 lenses, which you already have for E-mount and Z-mount, because their Air series lenses are particularly small and lightweight, so that could match the S9 quite well, to be honest.
Is there a touch shutter mode? So can you touch to shoot, focus and shoot at the same time?
Yes,
That is a really handy thing to have for street photography, because it means you can compose with the screen flipped out, and not have the camera to your eye, which is often a bit less intrusive for street photography.
Yeah,
but it's got a flip out screen. It flips out sideways, doesn't flip up vertically, does it?
So it's not sideways. It's supposed to make for content creators a vlogging camera.
Yeah.
So it has to have a flip out screen.
I think for photography and that kind of photography, a flip up screen might be a little bit better.
Yeah, but I hate this flip up and flip down screen though, you know. And for photography, it's fine. But if you make it for content creators, you know, you've seen cameras when they have the flip down screen, it's always block the tripod mount more. I mean
that is, you know, it is a problem on a gimbal or with a rig or on a tripod for sure.
Yeah, and a flip up screen, and you can't use any mounting mics or lights on top of it because it blocks the hot shoes. So it's just always kind of annoying.
Yeah. So you got to choose the right thing for the job. But I think for photography, for street photography, my favorite is my EP7 because it has the touch shutter and the shutter response and the autofocus is practically instantaneous, and it's just so unobtrusive.
Yep.
But interesting.
Just a couple of comments here, and first of all, while we were on the S9 earlier, let's reply this comment first. So apparently in the US, it's still listed as $13.99.
Yeah, let's see what B&H says.
Just 1 second, I need to answer a door. Just 1 second, I'll be back.
Okay. I'm in the web browser. Jimmy's answering the door. We left you on the road. That's a bit rude, isn't it? Right, give me a moment. Lumix S9. So, yes, in the States, the S9 would seem to be around the $1,400 mark, which is a lot more expensive than it is in the UK. And I don't really know why that is. But I think the whole Lumix S system is probably a little bit less attractive in the States for that reason. It does seem quite expensive for what you get. If I can just check in the UK, so you've got a UK dealer like Wex. They've generally got the same prices as everybody else. An S9 in the UK is that's the silver one. Bear with me. So you can get a Lumix S9 with an 18 to 40mm zoom for £1,200. So it's a good deal cheaper. So I think possibly how attractive the Lumix brand is depends on where you live, because it's certainly a great deal cheaper in the UK than it is in the US. So Jimmy, I was just checking prices.
Yep.
The UK and US, and the S9 is considerably more expensive in the US. Sadly.
Okay.
It's cheaper in the UK with the 18 to 40 lens than it is body only in the US.
Okay.
So this isn't really going to help Panasonic's fortunes in the US at all.
No.
I mean, Jimmy and I work in the UK, live and work in the UK. So we're used to UK pricing for Panasonic gear, which is why we're often talking about its value for money. But we appreciate it's a bit different if you live in the States, because you tend not to get the same discounting.
No. That's interesting though. More expensive. Wow.
Oh yeah, considerably.
Yeah.
It works differently with Canon, because Canon costs more in the UK than in the US.
Yes.
But with Lumix, it's a good deal cheaper in the UK. Wow. So that probably affects what we say about the brand, really, because people in the States are probably thinking, why are they going on about Lumix? It's too expensive. Yeah, and it's just been pointed out, you have to add sales tax to US prices as well.
Yeah.
So
imagine that.
So if you are in the US, let's see, Lumix S9 with the 18 to 40mm lens, which is probably the best choice, $1,600, and that's with the $200 discount. In the UK, it's £1,200, so it's a lot cheaper. So that's probably why Jimmy and I think the S9 is a good buy, because it's cheaper in the UK.
Only in the UK then.
Probably.
Well, fly to the UK and buy the camera here. And then and you can still claim the tax back. You can still claim the VAT back on the way back. So
Can you? Can you?
yeah,
I didn't know you could
yeah,
do that. Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
That's
I
pretty
mean,
cool. Depends on whether
yeah.
will you get hit with any tariffs at the other end? I don't know. Do you get
Well,
hit with tariffs on personal products or not?
obviously there is I'm not sure. There's usually some allowance, but I think if you go above the threshold, you still have to pay, whatever the local tax is. But if the camera itself is quite a bit cheaper already, even if you add tax back, and you should still be quite a bit cheaper buying it here. Because let's say that you claim the VAT back, which is 20. Well, it's not quite. You're not going to get full 20% back, but let's say you get like 15% back. And the camera is already, let's say, 15-20% cheaper than the US, and you get another 15% discount. Well, that tax free.
It's almost worth getting on a plane to come over and get some, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds like it by the looks of it.
I don't think warranties will transfer to a different territory though.
No, that's the thing. Yeah,
it is what it is. But it is interesting that the Lumix gear should be so much more expensive in the US. Disappointing, really.
Yeah. And I just want to highlight another comments which I saw just now, and where is it gone now? I'm just trying to look for it. Oh yes, right. How many people are able to view at that resolution? Or they're probably referring to another one, but it always M4 has always been ahead of the game. Stabilization, I think that's the word picked up on, stabilization. Yes, you can't argue that Michael Four Third IBIS, whether it's going to be a Panasonic, Lumix, or Olympus or OM system, the IBIS is quite a bit better than anything else on the market. And
I think I've tried Lumix G gear for video, and I think if you're doing deliberate camera movements, like you're panning, that's not ideal for IBIS because it does a kind of stop-start thing. But if you're shooting from a static position and not moving the camera very much, it's uncanny. It's like you're on a tripod. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And
it works it works with photo as well. I mean, you can handhold the shot.
Oh yeah,
which
certainly, yeah.
It's crazy length.
yeah. So you this is another thing that it's hard to explain to buyers, and it must be very hard to market. But if only somebody were to do, some famous YouTuber, Jimmy, were to do a stabilization comparison, that would be interesting, I think.
Well, I mean, I got all different cameras. I mean, mounted on the like a piece of steel there, like all different cameras, and just walk, and you can see the stabilization difference.
Yeah.
It could be very significant, I can tell you that.
And I've found with stabilization as well that some stabilization systems need the camera to be fairly steady to start with. They are not good at bad hand-holding technique. If your technique is quite good, they'll work pretty well. But if you're waving the camera around all over the place, they don't really go very well at all.
Well,
so MFT is better.
It's interesting you mentioned that, though. I need to reiterate that because we have all kinds of technologies now to help us take photos and videos, right? All kinds of technology. I'm talking about IBIS, subject recognitions, and everything like that.
Yeah.
But one will still have to master the fundamentals to be able to exploit these advantages. IBIS is great in theory. It is a great technology, but if you don't hold your camera properly, like Rod said, you're still not going to be able to get a really good shot. And because you still have to be able to execute and utilize the technology.
And I think as well, if you do any filming at all, maybe you shoot a lot of B-roll or you shoot a lot of experimental footage just to see how it comes out. I think I'll use that. How much do you throw away because you say, do you know what, it's just too wobbly, I can't use that? How much footage do people lose just because the stabilization isn't as good as it ought to be? It's a fundamental thing with video, isn't it? It should be stable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's weird how people may have forgotten about some fundamentals. You know, like even like autofocus is it's auto by itself. You know, it's not menu focus anymore. But even with autofocus, there's still certain techniques you can employ to make sure you can get the shot better. And even about composition, anticipation. You know, like all of this stuff, where you place your focusing point, all of this stuff helps. You know, as advanced as what the AI things is doing these days in modern cameras, you're not going to leave the camera to decide where you want to focus. You still want to have some kind of control, and to be able to make that shot happen.
We're all fixated on AF tracking, eye recognition, eye tracking, face recognition, and so on. If you're standing in front of a camera talking, you're not moving. The camera doesn't need to focus. You just focus once and go and do your thing. Then come back and switch the camera off. So quite a lot of the time, the camera is doing something it doesn't need to.
No.
Yeah, so it seems my dog's turning into a bit of a YouTube star.
yeah. It should have its own Instagram page now.
that might happen. That might happen. Probably do a lot better than mine. So
and
it's all right. I know.
This side to a screen actually says that as a Pentaxian, and when is Red 35 Show dedicated an episode for Pentax new camera?
Yes, that. How long into the future will that show be? So if we get a new camera, we'll certainly do a thing, because I like Pentax.
We will do a celebration and have some champagne ready and some cakes we can all celebrate.
Yes, cakes from 2014. Good like the camera. Did I say that? Sorry.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
Oh dear.
Did I say that?
But anyway, we're coming up to 2 hours mark now. I think that's usually where we wrap up our chat show. It's long enough, I know, but I'm really thankful that everybody kind of stay until this point. There's been quite an interactive session today, and everyone seems to have a lot of opinions about today's topic. Please don't stop it there. You can of course reflect your opinions about Lumix interview in the comment section below, even after this broadcast ended. We will read them. We usually do read all of them because it also inspire our future episodes when we discuss about topics and what to talk about. So it'll be good to hear from you. But overall, just to sum it up, I think the interview itself is certainly delightful in some ways, because it kind of sees that Panasonic are busy doing something. However, what they are busy at is our concern, or maybe our kind of focus is about the MFT side of it. And no doubt they're going to be doing full frame stuff. They're pretty committed to the S-line products. But what about the G-line product, which is what we are mostly kind of interested in today's topic, judging from the interview. But like I said, it's my personal opinion. You may have your own take on it after you see it. Is that I don't think they're that enthusiastic about the platform, even though they started it together with Olympus, which is kind of odd to me. Well, and almost like you make a product, you invented it, but you don't believe in it now. So it's kind of have that feeling.
It's almost like camera makers are all following the herd.
Yeah,
they're all following the full frame hybrid camera content creator trail. Well, that's not the only trail in town, but that's where they're all headed. So I don't know. I'm going to watch the interview again. I don't. There is at no point does the Panasonic executives say that's it for MFT.
No.
But the wording and the enthusiasm are slightly different. I think you just had to bear in mind that any kind of corporate interview with a company like Panasonic will be scripted. They will probably ask to see the questions so that they can prepare answers.
Yes.
It's not kind of evading honest answers. It's just how they like to operate, because Japanese companies do not like surprises. They never deflect from the script. They have every communication is carefully thought out and controlled.
Yeah.
So
Take a pinch of salt.
Yeah, you're not going to get any dramatic reviews.
No.
From this kind of interview.
We all know that even if they have any new products, they would not say it in the interview like this. So let's end it like that. I think
so. I think
yeah.
so.
You know, but it's overall. I mean, obviously that we can still see the audience, and myself included, are very fond of the MFT platforms, and
and Lumix G.
Yeah, I'm committed
Lumix
to
G
it,
too.
and I would like to see more developments on it. But yeah, it's an interesting time for MFT because, like we talked about briefly in the beginning of today's show, is that the Chinese camera makers, are joining the alliance, proposing to make cameras, and we will see how that goes. I think that will be an interesting future to see. If they do somehow gather some attentions and the momentum in the market, you never know. People might come back to the MFT. You know, Lumix might come back to MFT. Oh, if someone's making money from MFT, why can't I? You know, I'm one of the founders here. So let's do something about it. And third-party lens makers, they all but abandon MFT lenses, but they may come back as well, making MFT lenses if the market suddenly shows some interest and demand. So you never know.
Yeah. Let's hope so. And in the meantime, if I can see the right Pentax at the right price, I'll press that button.
Yeah. I already got one. I think it's enough for me. For my collection. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys, and it's been a pleasure. And so we're gonna think of another new topic to talk about next week. But if you have anything very specific that you would like to talk about and discuss about, whether it's going to be gear, brand, or even photography itself, like we did last week with black and white photography, please do leave us a comment below. We'll pick it up and we will think about some topics and talk about it. Okay. So in the meantime, enjoy yourself, enjoy photography, and see you all next week. Okay. Bye for now.
Goodbye from the dog too.
Goodbye for the dog. Yes.
Bye.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys. Bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye.